Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Luna over here. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about how to make your first commission fast. And disclaimer, I think in real estate, there's not a way for, overnight success. There's no way for you to make a big commission like in a week. It's just very unlikely. Even with a cash deal, it's most likely going to take 2 to 3 weeks for them to clear the title. So let's say you get lucky, your first deal is a cash deal, you might be able to close it under 30 days. In today's video, it's going to be covered into 2 parts. The first part will be the few things that you could do to make you get your first commission fast. And the second part is going to be the tips that I give it to you guys that might be helpful. So let's get into the video. Assuming you are a new real estate agent and assuming that you have done all the things to get yourself well prepared, what I'm saying is, you already know your script, you know what to talk about when you're qualified buyers or sellers, you know your listing presentation. So when you go to a listing, you know it is qualified, you know the seller is capable of selling, you know exactly where they're moving to, you know the paperwork, you know what needs to be signed, and stuff like that. So assuming that you know all of that and you are a new agent, so what are the things that you can do to make you get your first commission fast? Number 1 is to ask deals in your office. For example, you might have a good idea of who are the listing agents. Usually they have tons of listings. They might be not capable of doing a showing for the buyer, so offer to do free showings for them and maybe get the buyer side of the commission, or hosting open houses for the listing agents so they don't have to do an open house. And I talked in my previous video about how I got my first listing. It was actually a flip that my broker had done with 2 of the ladies that in my office. I was just, I really wanted to get a listing and I have no family friends who are here, so it's really hard for me to kind of present myself as a listing agent with no track record. So I told my broker, I said, I know that you had a deal because I checked out all the listings that we have, and I know one of the nice brand new flips that he had done, and it looks like it's been on the market for more than a year. So I went up to him, I said, why don't we do this? So, why don't you kind of give me a shot, let me list the house and I'll take 1.5% of the commission. And he went to talk to the ladies in my office, and my coworkers, they agreed to let me be the listing agent. So that's kind of how I got my first ever listing. I just thought that is some tips that you guys maybe can take into consideration and just ask for help when you're new. And number 2 is to ask referrals from your family friends. And in this one, I'm not particularly talking about going out and just bother them and call them every day. I am more talking about setting up your social media account and be very passively sending the message out there that you are a real estate agent. Not a new real estate agent, but like, a person that's very active and out showing houses and sending messages like how the market is doing. Stuff like signals like that to kind of indicate that you are a real estate professional. So that way when people are in need of any real estate help, they will reach out to you and essentially you can get that deal. And number 3 is to buy leads. I don't recommend this one, especially if you're brand new. You might not have the capability of buying financially, but this is also a way, because I purchased the leads when I first started my 6 months, and I have closed 4 to 5 deals from helping the buyer side. It's not something that it's not going to close. I mean, there are some quality leads on Zillow. It just depends on how much you want to spend, and just be very mindful and smart with that decision. So number 4 is by starting doing rentals. I don't recommend that. You guys know my approach right now is, if you are very dedicated, it's definitely to go for listing and start cold calling and all that. I'll get into it in a little bit. But if you are not sure listing is the way that you wanted to go at it right away, you want to make some quick money fast, rental, it is a good way. It can kind of get your feet wet. You start meeting people, you start to go out, see houses, and the way how rental gets paid is once you sign a lease, you get paid right away. So you will sometimes make a couple hundred here and a couple hundreds there. And at the same time, you never know, those renters may know somebody who's also thinking about selling or buying. It is possible. So that will be the number 4. And move on to the next is to call for sale by owners in your area. And there's a way for you to get for sale by owner leads, especially on Zillow. So what I do is go on Google and you type the city that you are in and for sale by owner, FSBO, Philadelphia. If you type these 2 words, Zillow is gonna pop out all the for sale by owners. It usually comes in with like red dot. So what I do is I will look at those areas and I will kind of see if it's like really overpriced or not. Typically I try to call them within the 5-7 days, and I'll heart the areas as well, just so I will remember that I called them, and then I'll keep calling them a couple times a day and using different phone numbers. And number 6 is to do circle prospecting. When I mean circle prospecting, I didn't mean like you had a listing here and you're calling the surrounding neighborhoods. I'm more talking about like a geographic farming. So let's say your office is in this area. Try to call the same zip code around your office with maybe 15 to 20 minutes of driving radius. And start farming the area, start cold calling. And the script that I always use is, hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. I am a local real estate agent. I'm just calling to see if you might be thinking about selling your house. I don't do any like chit chat or talking about weather or just like abstracting things that people, like, I don't do any of that. I'm very straightforward, because to me, a no is actually a good news. If a person's not interested or they don't show any interest at all, I just kind of trash them, because I don't want to waste too much time on people that are showing non-interest. So last but not least, for you to get a deal fast is actually by doing an open house. That's kind of the same if you go back to the first one, ask deal in your office, is to help agents or people who hosting their open houses and see if you can catch buyer here and there. So that will be my 7 tips. I'm sorry, that will be my 7 things that you can do to, oh my goodness, hold on, my mojo is expired. Okay, and now let's get into the tips that are going to help you. Number 1 is do not be a secret agent. I can't stress out enough to tell people, if you want to get in this business, you want to be successful, don't whisper to people. Like, don't be so scared of telling people that you are a real estate agent. If you are passionate about what you do and you're really good at your job, you should be broadcasting to everybody that you know that you are a real estate agent. So that's my take on it. Do not be a secret agent. And number 2 is treat it like a business, not a hobby. Every day it should be the same. I woke up today and I feel like not the greatest. I don't want to do cold calling. I don't want to be in my office. I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to stay in bed. Guess what? I'm still here, because that's something that I wanted to do in the long run, and I know it's my business. Like, I can take break, I can take vacation, but I choose not to, because I wanted to give it 100% every day. And number 2 is stop complaining and work hard. Hard work always pays off. So, if a deal fell through or something didn't work out, everything is going to be the hardest when you first start. Things will get easier. And I like this saying of, the harder you work, the luckier you get. Sometimes I do feel lucky that, I happen to meet a seller who is super easy to work with and I close the deal within 45 days. But I also think about all the times that I was hitting with all these rejections, or those deals are super hard and I almost went like 80% of the way, it ended up not closing. So if you think about all these negatives and then you think about all the good ones that you are getting, it's actually kind of evens out. Like the harder you work, the luckier you are going to get. And number 4 is make sure you remember, focus on your niche, same thing. So what I do is, you know, I'll try to focus on northeast of Philadelphia because there's most Chinese people or Asian people are buying. And usually if my sign goes out, people are like, oh, that agent is actually Asian. I do see my neighbor is Asian. Interesting. They kind of can share a link in between the agent and the people who are buying the neighborhood. They can feel like the neighborhood is changing. So that's kind of how I get in my niche. And I also talk about that you can like try to talk to local restaurant owners, see if you can put your business card on the display, stuff like that, that might help you with your business as well. So last but not least is do not overthink it. A lot of time, just start doing it. You will get better and better along the way. So especially sometimes when it comes to for sale by owner or expired listings, expired people, it's really hard because I've before I have never done one, so it's intimidating and people are usually really upset, the expired sellers, because they had bad experience. But don't overthink it. Just keep calling them. With the practice, you will get a lot better. And to be honest, expireds are actually really easy to work with because the motivation is still there. Their end goal is to still sell their house. So because they had a really bad experience, they are very guarded. But essentially, if you kind of break that, you know, the guard and break the wall, they will start opening and then start talking about their problems, and that's when you can get in and give them the service and essentially help them sell their house. So here's the video of how I think that you can make your first deal fast. If you guys like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.